Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to Ghettofabulous Kings of War, everyone's favorite janky Kings of War YouTube channel. Today, we've got a 2,220 point battle between Goblins and Varangur. 2,220 points may sound like an odd amount to many of you, but it's in preparation for Adepticon, which is coming up, into next month, so soon. Scenarios dominate. Special note before I roll on, just because most of my battle reports seem to show me winning, don't be fooled. I lose plenty. I find, not that I'm trying to, I don't want to avoid showing losses, and in fact, you learn a lot from losses as well. They're kind of important, especially when you're, like this part here says, testing something crazy. But if I'm doing something really crazy, I don't normally try to take photos of it, at least the first couple of times, just because I'm trying to see how things work. But more importantly, when I'm losing, especially if it's like an event or a timed event, the more the game is going against me, the more my brain is scrambling, trying to find which paths I can salvage victory from. And I suddenly stop worrying about the camera and just worrying about, is there any way I can get this game to work? What crazy Rube Goldberg machine can I put together to salvage something? My fast goblin list that I've been doing the last couple of reports got smoked pretty badly in some recent tournaments. And some of it was my fault. I was a little too timid, which the army has to be more aggressive, and it's, I don't know, that's not just not my natural orientation to be aggressive and press the action sometimes. Part of that is also because it was an Alpha Strike kind of army, but unlike some other Alpha Strike armies, it can't, aside from the very first charge, that army has a hard time doing damage after the initial charge. It just doesn't grind very well. And those units aren't particularly tough. They're okay. Defense 4, and depending on what unit it is, maybe decent nerf, but not great. And they get counterpunched and lose too easily. And that's part of why I was timid, too, because you're looking for, where's the ideal place to charge where I can trade and come out ahead. Well, a lot of times there aren't very good choices where you can trade and come out ahead. And because it's so much cavalry, those units are pretty big. Obviously, the horde of cavalry is huge. And because none of them hit particularly well by themselves, you're required to try to set up multi-charges. And because the units are large, can you get enough spacing on? The enemy can chaff you up. You block lanes for each other. So I decided I would test out and take some of the lessons learned from this tournament and go back to my first love. My first love being a giant horde of infantry. So the list I was kind of messing around with, as you can see here, one of the things for Adepticon, aside from the oddball point amount, is a max of 2, I'm calling them support, duplicates. So giants, mincers, characters, whizzes and things, you can have a maximum of 2 of the same type. Units and things are fine. It's just all the support stuff like artillery. So 2 rabble regiments, 5 hordes of trolls, 2 troops of legates, a fleabag troop, 2 mincers, and a giant. That rounds out the units. Then this Magua and Joaz guy. King with Jareth's pendant and the loot. A whiz with weakness and a whiz with inspiring and bane chant. So should be pretty clear what's going on here. There was a who was it? Countercharge podcast where they were talking about the Goblin army and they were crapping on trolls. And yeah, trolls are kind of mediocre, but I think they should get a little more credit than they were getting in a podcast. So I also thought, hey, I'm going to see what we can do with a crap load of trolls, which obviously means you've got to have this headstrong thing, because trolls suck, and you need some way to to address their low nerve waiver value. Between the rabble regiments, which are always great just because they're cheap, they can capture, they can chaff, and for their point costs, they're pretty tough, so that's nice. And the Fleabag troop, I'd never really used troops before, but I needed something kind of fast to act as chaff. And these guys are fast enough that they can stay behind the trolls so they don't get shot to pieces and then jump out and block something critical. Luggets, obviously new, something I haven't messed with before, but they're not a bad unit. I can't see them being a front line unit. They're not quite that tough, and they could get punked, I think, pretty easily. But my intention is to use them as kind of a back line, either a second wave when the troll hordes gets killed. Hopefully whatever killed them is already weakened, and yeah, a Luggett troop still hits fairly hard. Or more importantly, they can stay in the back line and maybe discourage flyers or other things from flying out behind me. Just kind of a general purpose utility guy in the back. Mincers are always great. Giant, I think I might have addressed it in one of my previous videos where for the longest time I kept thinking, why would you take a giant when you can take just a horde of trolls? And it's relatively similar. They have about the same damage output. The giant's got a little bit better nerve, but the horde of trolls has regeneration, so, about the same toughness to kill, right? And this is better unit strength, speed, and strider's a bit of a difference, but this is a lot more expensive too. Yeah, the giant, I'm finding, just like with the previous slide talking about frontage and trying to get, and blocking your own charge lanes or doing multi-charges, it's good to have a few smaller frontage things to help out. I've also never really used Magua and Jews. And this is very low. I usually have lots of inspiring. If you look on here, I've only got 3 sources of inspiring, which is a concern of mine, because there's a lot of stuff to manage. And while I'm hoping to keep things tight, so I can inspire easily, games have a tendency never to follow that plan, so we'll see if it works. I don't have a lot of shooting, but it's lightning 10 between the 3 characters here, which is fine. At least for clearing out chaff, which is the main purpose behind it. The reason I really chose this guy was I was concerned about flyers and maybe powerful individuals flying around behind me. He's not going to kill a dragon or something that flies behind me, but he'll put a few wounds on it, and maybe with these Luggets I'll put a few wounds or something. So, a little, in the fact that he's an individual and can just turn around and charge, I'm hoping it'll help me keep my rear lines clear. My opponent, not what I expected. He had 2 lists he was trying to play around with. And he said, do you want to try the Varangur list or the Nightstalker list? I know Nightstalkers pretty well. And for whatever reason, when he said Varangur, my brain was thinking Northern Alliance, which I haven't fought very much at all. And I thought, oh, that'll be perfect because I go back. I always wanted to run a big horde of infantry kind of stuff, but the problem was in 2nd edition, especially because I was trying to run it with humans, so you got these giant hordes of troops that are kind of mediocre at fighting, and they can't kill quickly, and instead I keep getting outflanked by flyers and fast, nimble things as I'm trying to push through the front. It just didn't work. So that's why I tried to start either moving towards a more fast army. But the last tournaments I was at, I saw very, very few flyers. So I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about that as much. What's the biggest concern then? Well, there's going to be a lot of shooty armies. Or when he was talking about what I thought was Northern Alliance, I thought, oh, he's going to have a slow, punchy, tough, grindy army too. I haven't really fought a lot of those, so that'll be perfect. I'll get to encounter kind of the same kind of army that I have. Just a lot of infantry that are tough and are just going to punch things. Instead, I got this super fast nimble list, which is kind of kind of what I was expecting not to see as much of. So we've got 2 regiments, mounted sons. I know one of them had the potion of caterpillar. I'm not sure what the other one had. A horde of fallen. So all these guys are fast. The fallen are nimble. A horde of the Frostfang cavalry. Pretty fast. I think they're like speed 7 and wild charge 1. So that was surprising. I thought they were a lot slower. Maybe they get upgraded in the edition, or maybe I just remembered incorrectly. 2 hordes of Draugr. They're kind of crap infantry. 2 Jabberwocks. Again, fast, nimble creatures. 2 lords on Frostfangs. Fast, nimble. 2 troops of Night Raiders and a Scald. So I think you can kind of see what he's playing at here. He's got a couple fast, punchy units, and then quite a few fast, like these Jabberwocks and these lords. They don't punch super hard, but they're fast, they're nimble, they're going to be working the flanks. The Fallen can work the flanks and just try to keep me off balance. Here's a table rolled up on, what is it, Epic Dwarf. So if you look, it's certainly not balanced, which, when I usually set up tables, I make, okay, one piece of impassable on one side, one piece on the other side, a forest on one side, a forest. It's like, let's just do the Epic Dwarf thing, because I have no idea what the tables at Adepticon will look like. They probably won't be perfectly balanced. And I think it's better in some ways when they're not, because you never know what you and your opponent are looking for in terrain. So when I saw this table, considering the scenario is dominate, so we're trying to get in the middle here, I didn't like either side for my army. The far side, you've got 2 pieces of difficult terrain, and with it being dominate, I'm going to have to, in my army's all infantry base, I'm going to have to pretty much set up in the middle anyway. So this force is going to slow me down trying to get to the middle. And his guys are fast. In a couple of them have Pathfinder, so he doesn't care so much about this. He's small. He can just nimble around it. The opposite side here, this looks like a pretty big space, but my army has a lot of units. I was afraid if I deployed on this side, I would get jammed up, like I couldn't spread out very much, and then if I start moving forward, now my flanks are exposed. I'd kind of like to shift maybe to one side a bit and shut off one flank from being flanked. That's not really an option with this stuff in the way. It was kind of irrelevant because I lost first turn. I didn't get to pick, but I still think I might have picked this side, which is obviously what happened the way I said it. This hill is also an interesting point of thought. If I was on this far side, I don't know if it would have been bad, I think, because he could have put units on here and gotten the extra thunders to charge off. Whereas if I'm on this side, it screens me from some of his stuff, so I can get closer to the middle without being charged by his speed, and I can keep him from being up there and charging at me. And this is how deployment ended up. Since we're both testing things out, I will apologize. There's a few models being proxied on here. Let's talk about the enemy first, and you can kind of see already what he's thinking. His 2 flanks are kind of the same. This little template here is his troop of Nightstalkers, and he's got a troop of those Nightstalker or Night Raiders on the other side. He's got 1 Jabberwock and 1 Lord on Frostfang on that flank, and same thing, Lord and Jabberwock on the other flank. This side has one of his regiments of mounted sons. Towards the middle, or kind of the hinge points, I guess, he's got each horde of Draugr. So fast nimble on the flanks, cheap infantry on the transition points, and in the middle, his Pathfinder regiment of mounted sons and his horde of Frostfang cavalry. And here's his little Scald, because he's got both of these lords are, I guess, maybe very inspiring, or maybe just one of them was, I'm not sure, but they're both inspiring to some degree. But then he needs something to manage this middle chunk as well, and he's got this poor little Scald running around. For me, in some ways, there's not too much to think about. The only real... Okay, so obviously I got to put these... He doesn't have much shooting, but he's got these two things in Night Raiders, so I mean, my little troops can get shot up. So my fast cav troops back here in the middle, centralized. Ideally, they're probably going to end up trying to chaff these, since they're fairly close and they're very deadly. I have a feeling they're going to be running forward and blocking them up. My two little troops of Luggets are in the back as well, so they don't get shot. And again, to fill their role as utility, backfielders, replacement troops, whatever. Other than that, you can see Mincer, Troll Horde, Regiment, Troll Horde, Mincer, Regiment. Couldn't quite fit this Troll Horde in, and it's going to work in the flank anyway. I kind of thought maybe this little angle, if I move up and start turning, might be okay. The Giant was... Okay, so there are only a few things I really had to think about and make decisions on. I wanted to have a couple pieces of chaff scattered throughout, so the regiments are in here. I knew this flank was going to be tougher because he's got the same beef as on this left flank, and he's got this cavalry. So, okay, I'm going to play soft over here more and see what he does. The Giant, he's got Strider, so I got the Forest here. I kind of thought about putting him over here as well because he could see over this hill where nothing else could, but I ended up putting him over here. I'm not quite sure why. I just thought it'd be better. And then we've got a backup unit of trolls over here to kind of fill the same role, really. Magua and Jews here in the middle. I wasn't sure. I mean, there's going to be fighting all over the place, and his headstrong aura is only going to be able to cover one section, but I put him on the left. So I put the weakness wizard and the inspiring wizard on the right flank. I thought if I got first turn, I could run Magua and Jews forward. I've got lightning here. I could maybe try to punk his Scald right away, but he's like 10-12 nerve. I thought it was unlikely, so I figured I wouldn't do that. I did put this Mincer on the left flank deliberately. If he's going to be working the flanks trying to get around, I thought, well, if I keep advancing, the Mincer is longer than the Troll Hordes are, so he can actually kind of cover the flank if they advance. And if he wants to charge in and kill the Mincer, that's fine. It's a 90-point item or whatever, and then I can have these Troll Hordes or something that can counter punch. And whatever he's throwing in to kill the Mincer is probably going to be worth more than whatever he loses when I punch back. I don't know if I mentioned, but I've got two sources of Bane Chant, my Inspiring Wizard and the King here, which should be helpful. There's a lot of Defense 5 in the game in general right now, it seems like, and this army has quite a bit. So, all right, that's a lot. General game plan. General game plan going forward is going to be to wait and see what he does, which is usually a bad game plan. But I think in this particular case, if I just start rushing forward, these guys will alpha strike stuff. He's going to hit stuff on the flank, and he'll hurt me a lot. And these pieces of terrain kind of protect my flank, really. He can't flank charge me unless I come forward, or he goes all the way around. And I don't think he wants to do that. So we'll see. He gets first turn. And as you can imagine, he starts moving forward. Left flank, moving forward and turning in to see any flanks. Middle, they shuffle up a bit, but he's giving space. He wants me to advance in so he can hit me from all sides simultaneously. Right flank, his little Night Raider dudes move up on the hill so they can get some clear shots. And again, here's his Jabberwock, here's his Direfang Lord dude, or Frostfang now I guess it's called. Moving up, starting to work angles. His shooting does nothing, thankfully. So, turn 1B, my turn. I'm not even going to bother trying to walk forward and screen with this Mincer. They're already way on the flank. But instead, I'm just going to turn a bit, face him, keep the everything in the front of the Mincer here. And if he wants to charge it, I've got plenty of stuff to countercharge. This Troll Horde is just out of the Jabberwock's charge range, if I recall. Center, it doesn't move too much. I move Magua up here so I can get some clear lightning bolts. This cavalry unit is not majority in the woods, so I figure lightning here, you can put a couple wounds on them. You know, their nerve isn't great, and it'd be nice to hurt them a little bit. And then the right as well, we start turning. I put the regiment of rabble out here as bait, I guess. I don't think he'll take it, of course, but if he wants to charge it with one of these nice expensive units, I'll be happy to hit him back with all this crap. And we put 3 wounds on these guys, which is actually really good for the amount of shot we put on them, so I'll take that. Turn 2. He continues to work the side. His Jabberwock runs way up here. He's kind of looking over the flank now. He's got nimble, so that's annoying. He actually turned his cavalry and started moving even further to the side, which at this point, as soon as I saw that, it's like, well, that's going to take him another turn to turn back around. If he really commits, and as you see, he's starting to work over here as well. The Fallen move over and turn, Direfang, or again, Lord on Frostfang. The thought process is, if he goes really far to the sides, can I rush the middle? Maybe. I mean, these guys are dangerous, but I've got a whole army. I don't know if that's even feasible, because I can't wait forever in the middle. His little dudes on the hill shoot and put 2 wounds on my rebel regiment. On the other side, all you can really see and shoot is my mincer, and from the front, he's not doing anything to it. Bottom of turn 2. Things are moving pretty quickly since not much. My army just shuffles and nothing's been killed. There's very little fighting. So I can capture my whole army in this one picture here. You can see I'm just kind of working the flank again, turning a bit to face here. On the right, the trolls turn so they don't get flanked anymore, and they can kind of see over here too if they need to. This Jabberwock, I'm concerned, is going to run around. So I'm kind of putting in layers of defense now. The Luggets have moved over. The second group of Luggets have moved over because the Jabberwock can charge this first group with nimble, get around. So if he does and kills it, then I can punch him back. And yeah, other than that, still, I think these guys might have shuffled forward a bit. That's it. I'm trying to play patient. I want to see what his end game is. Now this time, since they were, I don't want to lose that. Let's go back. I don't want to lose this regiment of chaff here. And he put 2 wounds on, which is, I mean, a couple more of those could be a problem. So they're on the hill. They're clear shots, and their stealth doesn't protect them against lightning. So we shoot them with lightning and put 3 on them, but they're not wavered or anything. Top 3. He turns back around. I think these guys might have inched forward, but ultimately, they're both now, this Lord and these guys are in charge range of this little rabble regiment. Obviously, he's not afraid of them, but that was something of note. I was kind of surprised he put them there, and I'm not quite sure why. You can see his Jabberwock continuing to work around the flank, trying to look for all sorts of opportunities, which they all exist. And on the left, the Fallen were able to pivot, move, and pivot because they're nimble. So now they can, and we're not playing as the base, it's just the actual building itself. So they can pivot and charge through here pretty easily with their nimble. Oh, and as you can see, his shooting put 1 wound on the mincer. So that brings us to bottom of turn 3. And as I mentioned earlier, the question was, I can't just sit here forever. So when is the right moment to move forward? I mean, I guess I could try to move left or right, but I don't think that's going to work. I have to move forward. And it looks, looking at the board as it is, this might be the correct moment. First of all, if I move forward, what's the threat? Well, the main threat is these 2 really dangerous cavalry units. I have a counter for that. This Fleabag troop can run forward and block them both. Okay, so far so good. This rabble regiment can move up and turn to screen my advance from this horde of crap troops. This regiment of rabble has a couple options, and I thought I had an arrow in here, but I don't see it anymore. Yep, he's going to charge up and hit this crap troop horde. So I can fix everything he has in the middle here, and that will allow my stuff to move up. What do I have to move up? Unfortunately, I've had some stuff turn. I mean, I could turn and move the giant, but he's going to be needed for something else. So what I have to advance behind the screen is 2 hordes of trolls, Magua and Jews, and a mincer. They can all pivot or converge or whatever they need to do and move up into this middle zone to threaten. That's not, I mean, it's a decent amount. I don't know if it's going to be enough, especially because I don't think either of the rabble regiments on the pivot points here, the corners, are going to last very long. So I move forward. I lose both those rabble regiments. The flanks are threatened. Can this group charge these 2 units, kill them both, and pivot to the sides to protect themselves? I don't think it's a great gamble, but I'm kind of stuck. I have to do something. What else do we have? Yeah, now I have to. The rest of it is holding off his crap on the sides. On the left here, what I have left is my king, because he's going to have to stay behind to inspire. So I've just got Magua and Jews running up to inspire the center point. The king has a mincer and 2 troll hordes to play with to try to hold off the Fallen, Jabberwock, the Lord on Frostfang, and these Night Raiders. I don't know if I can win that fight necessarily, but I think I can hurt them and hold them back for several turns. On the right side, I have the 2 Luggets, a horde of trolls, and a king to hold off, or a giant to hold off his lord, this cavalry, and his Jabberwock. I'm a little more bullish on this side. I think I've got a better setup. It's not great, but I think it's okay. So we'll see how that plays out. So over here, you can see the left flank just pivoting again. The trolls here are facing, now they're not going to get flanked, but they can get combo charged. This troll, as the one troll unit turned and moved up and is screened by the regiment, this troll horde is able to move up and turn now as well. So I've got a couple layers. And the king, he moved up to shoot his bow at this thing, because why not? You can see my troop here moving up to block the cavalry. Mincer moving up, troll horde, Magua and Jews. Everything's inching forward. On the right, this regiment charges forward, and again, I don't think he was. I think it surprised him. I think he was looking at the regiment, but I don't think he thought about the giant. The giant was in charge range for the Lord on Frostfang. So that will. I'll take the charge. It's not going to kill him, I don't think. And I have to be careful now. I want to hold this flank up, but if I'm not going to kill it, and then they countercharge between the king, this cavalry unit. It's like what, 18 attacks, hitting on 3s with Thunderous 1 crushing 1, and then these guys, they've got 10 attacks, Thunderous 1 hitting on 4s, and they're coming off a hill, so that might be Thunderous 2. That would be a problem into the flank of the giant. So I need some way to help the giant out over here. The trolls moved up. This Jabberwock is in their flank, but he can't get to the flank because of this hill, so it's screening me again. And again, these guys are just layering defense. The second group of Luggets is just outside his charge arc or charge range. So we'll see how that goes. On the right, I have Magua and Jews, and one of my wizards shoot lightning and kill the Night Raiders, which is great. And then the weakness wizard puts weakness on the cavalry here. So that's quite a bit of support. I just want him to survive 1 round, and I think that may be enough to do it. And I think it's kind of blurry. I think he did 5 wounds on the Lord there. Didn't kill him or anything, but hey, it's a good start. I think with another punch like that might be enough to kill him. Top of 4. All right, so this is when the when the floodgates open and all hell breaks loose. I think pretty much everything in his army charges. Yep, here's the combo charge. The Fallen and the Lord into the Horde of Trolls. That's going to hurt. Jabberwock into the Mincer. That won't hurt as much. A horde of crap troops into my Rebel Regiment. Maybe okay. Over here, he kind of inched his cavalry, his, what are they called? Mounted sons. Inched them back a bit. Had these guys charge forward. I think he didn't. Something about he wanted them not to slide over all the way, so they could back up again or something, or pivot. I don't remember exactly what his thought process there was, but that's what he did. Charge there. This horde of crap troops countercharges my rabble. I mean, I put a couple wounds on them, but obviously didn't threaten them or anything. And on the right, he didn't actually charge the Jabberwock. He just continued to move around. So now he's, again, threatening the rear of things and being nimble. Even if I charge him, he can see over me. So even if I charge him, he'll be able to potentially pivot, move out, and charge again. So he's really trying to work this angle thing. And yes, over here, the Lord counter charges and the cavalry charges as well. Only put 8 wounds on the giant, which is very good. I think the Lord here actually rolled pretty poorly, and these guys ultimately probably rolled pretty well considering the weakness on him. But that's good. He will survive his turn, which is what I need. In the center, obviously, my cav troop gets wrecked. They weren't inspired. That's how it was going to happen. I catch a break. These guys aren't inspired either, because I couldn't run my inspiring. I need them to lightning bolt those Night Raiders. They only take 2 more wounds, and they survive without inspiring. So that's excellent. On the left flank here, these guys took 7 wounds and got wrecked. So that's fine. If I had to lose 1, I'm better with losing this regiment of rabble than the one on the right flank. These trolls take 12 wounds, but they survive. They are wavered. But I've got my headstrong thing here, so we'll see if that helps. Jabberwock only puts 1 wound on my Mincer. So he's in good shape. I would love to have him pivot and charge the flank here, but I don't think it's... With the center point, we kind of figured it was going to actually overrun on the king here, so, or the Lord. So can't do that, unfortunately. Bottom of 4. So Luggets charge into his Jabberwock. These Luggets move over to block so he can't get through and rear charge over here. He can't charge anything straight ahead because if he pivots 90 to get out, then he has to pivot 90 and go straight up. So I don't have to worry about these guys. But over here was an issue. The king, I kind of played back and forth, but I figured I want to kill this guy first. Because if I charge into the cavalry, I won't kill them in one go probably, and then he'll be free and nimble to charge through. So this way I can probably kill the king, and I can block these guys up next turn. The trolls, since they're now kind of safe, move up some more and pivot so they can charge the cavalry, or they can charge up here if I need them to. Yeah, obviously these guys countercharge. And then, so I'm kind of fortunate. I'm able to get a triple charge off on these Frostfang Cav. He was expecting to double charge. He was expecting the trolls, and they're hindered. He was expecting the Mincer, which would be in the front. He wasn't expecting Magua and Jews. And we talked about it, so he kind of knew the rule. If you don't see them very often, it didn't really click so much that they were I mean, they're a goblin character. So even though you talk the stats in your brain, you're still thinking, he's not that dangerous. And he was behind the trolls, but these guys are taller, so he can see. And he's nimble, so he can get in. And with the way things work, that slides the trolls over a lot more, which allows this group of trolls to barely charge in. And I mean, they have distance, but now they can barely make contact, which means they're avoiding the woods here, which means they're not hindered. And these guys already have 3 wounds, so this is good. This could be helpful. This is my Bane Chanting Wizard, moving up to inspire the trolls. Again, these guys are not inspired. He is in range and will Bane Chant my Mincer. And the Weakness Wizard will probably weakness this unit in case I fail to kill them. Because if I fail to kill them, they'll countercharge, kill Magua, and then overrun and kill probably the trolls, which would be devastating. Yep, and Magua and the Mincer are both not in the terrain, so they're unhindered charges. I don't know. I'll be happy if I just waver them. I'm hoping to kill something, but I think I have enough damage here to at least waver them and then kill them next turn. On the left, this doesn't look great. These guys do pass their headstrong roll, which is great. They charge into the Lord, kind of like on the other side too. Hit the Lord, and that also will tie these guys up. Because if I charge them, then the Lord's free to run around. I don't want that. So they'll die next turn. That's fine. The trolls over here, they don't have, it's all jammed up. So they're going to charge these crap infantry guys. It's not an ideal target, but they got to do something. So might as well put a few wounds on them. And the results, we waver. I don't remember how many wounds. It's not 10. It's probably not 11. So maybe 8 or 9. Whatever it is, we put several wounds in this guy. Oh, the king here has the loot, so he Bane Chanted him, which is great. So yeah, put a lot of wounds in this guy and wavered him, which is fine. Maybe put a wound or 2 on the Jabberwock here, and a few wounds on that infantry group. We kill the Mounted Sons Regiment, and this guy turns around, so now he's facing the flank of that crap infantry unit, which is great. These guys are wavered with 11 wounds. That's good enough. I'll take it. The Luggets only put 2 wounds on the Jabberwock down here. This guy has been a pain. And the Jabberwock on the other side has been a pain with my Mincer just, feebly hitting each other. We kill the Lord over here. And then, because where his center point was, we decided I have to turn face up so that these guys are in his front arc. So, fine. Yep, so that's the end there. Yeah, I got up to 12 wounds. With Brutal, that was enough with my rolls, so that's good. Top of 5. So, yeah, the Lord here backs up a bit and pivots. The Fallen countercharge my trolls. I'm writing them off. Jabberwock into the Mincer again. And these crap guys into the trolls here. I'm okay with these two, and I'm okay. And I'm not happy about it, but I've resigned myself to the troll's fate. Here, I think this was a mistake. I'm not sure what he thought, but he backs up this Frostfang unit. I don't know if he was thinking about making me get further from the center. It was already going to be a hindered charge if I charged him again. But what this does is now these guys are free. Because I assume this crap unit's charging here. And again, I don't think these guys are inspired. So they're probably going to get killed. And they can pivot now and face... Well, they can keep the trolls here in their front and threaten the flank over here. Now these guys are free to charge in and put some wounds on them. I think if these guys were up still and engaged, I don't think these guys would be able to get over here. He takes this charge. I don't think... Oh, yeah, because I cast weakness on the... I cast weakness on these guys, which went off. But because they were wavered, it wasn't needed. It would have been nice to have over here to maybe save my giant, but I had to play the odds, and I figured if the giant dies, I've got the trolls here to hit back. So this is, I think, the safer play. Things go over here about as you would expect. The trolls die. The Mincer doesn't take any wounds, so he'll be free to have his Thunderous back to hit this guy. And I take 4 wounds in the trolls, but they're fine. The Luggets only took like 2 or 3 wounds, but without inspiring, they die easily. And then he thought about trying to overrun and get past, but he'd need a 3 to get out of their charge arc, and he didn't want to gamble with that. So he just pivoted to face. And he does finish off the giant. So, how do things stand at the bottom of 5? I think, in general, when you look at this, things are going pretty well for me now. And there's not a lot of thinking at this point. A lot of it is just automatic. These Luggets are going to charge into here. The Troll is going to charge into cavalry. And Trolls... when you're talking cavalry regiments, especially if you've got Banechant nearby, as long as the trolls get the initial charge off, they can pretty reliably beat cav regiments. So I'm good with this matchup. It'll probably take 2 turns. One to hit them, hurt them a lot. Second turn I'll kill them and turn back around. These guys are a bit of a problem, but I've got now a Mincer and Magua and Jews who can charge in. They're already slightly wounded. These guys will put a lot more wounds on them than that stupid Rabble regiment. The only real gamble is the trolls here. These guys are hurt. Was 11 wounds or something? It's a hindered charge. You know, what do you look at? 3 or 4 wounds? That should be plenty. But if I roll like double ones or something, if I roll snake eyes, these guys are allowed to counterattack, and they'll kill these guys, and that will screw everything up. But I think that's the appropriate allocation of forces. These guys go over here. This guy hits them and kills them. This troll horde will hit the flank along with these guys in the front. We'll take that out. And then the real question is, what do I do with this little bit over here? This is easy for a charge. This guy, I could back him up because I'm afraid if this could be a bad Snake Eyes too. If this rolls Snake Eyes, this flank is exposed, and these guys can come in and flank charge. This guy's not mighty, so he can't block it. And if I back him up, well, then maybe he gets free, or I don't know. What I ended up doing was I charged with my king. I figured 5 attacks, hitting on 4s was crushing 1. Well, you should at least get 1 wound. 1 wound will be enough to block these guys, and that will spare them a turn. I also kind of considered having him charge this lord. If I can only put... He's already got, again, 9 or 10... I guess it's 9 wounds. If he can put 1 wound on him, I might be able to kill him. I did put weakness on this fallen group. I thought, okay, if I hit them, put a wound on them, and then they have to countercharge here. I don't want them overrunning and then killing my Mincer as well, although the Mincer's probably dead from him. But if I put weakness on these fallen, he might just survive and just hold them up an additional turn. So that would be even better. These Luggets only put 2 wounds, so he's up to 4. He survived without any problem. The Trolls get lucky. They were Bane-chanted by the wizard here, so they actually kill that regiment in 1 turn, which is great. They weren't inspired, so I mean it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. And yeah, these guys don't kill here, but they do put several more wounds. I think they're up to 11 or 12. And the Trolls here do finish off the Frostfang horde. So now things are looking much better. Over here, the king fails to put a single wound on these guys, but these guys do finish off this horde, and they face this side here. Top of 6. I'm not sure how. Oh, so he does a combo charge, and I'm assuming must be happening is because this guy's not mighty. The Lord can see my trolls over because they're on the hill, so he pivots, moves through my king, and pivots again, hits, slides back over. These guys are nimble, so they come in. So he gets a double charge here. This cripple fight here keeps going on, so he charges against the mincer. These guys are not inspired because he's way over here now. So this is going to be a lot of damage. They're already slightly wounded, and they're not inspired, so that's going to be a problem. Everything else is pretty straightforward. This what's he called? Jabberwock. Since we're at, I don't know if I lost track of turns or he lost track of turns. I was thinking this is only turn 5. But either way, he pivots and runs over here because this doesn't matter anymore. So he's getting back to the center over here. These guys countercharge, and the Scald just moves up to throw axes at people. He does 10, well, I guess he only had 3, so he has 7 wounds out of these guys on them. I guess the weakness here probably helped quite a bit. He wavers them, but they do survive, which is great. The Jabberwock gets very lucky and kills the mincer, even though it was inspired. So that's an interesting turn of events. He puts 4 wounds, actually, on Magua and Jews here, but they survive. And this is the bottom of 6. And again, as I was going through, I think I was only tracking this as turn 5 in my brain as I was playing. We put a coin out, so it's getting close. We put a coin out too, showing kind of where the center of the board was. So I've got a horde, a horde, a horde, and these guys are pretty close as well. So this guy passed his headstrong, charges into the fallen, because I moved my king up, so they're both inspired and headstrong. He also Bane chants, yeah, because this guy's already really hurt. So he also, because they're on the hill, he Bane chants the trolls. This troll horde that was down here charged in to finish off the Lord. They do expose their flank to these Night Raider dudes, and I can't, even if I kill, I can't really pivot to face, because then these guys could nimble pivot and rear charge them. So I'm just going to have to eat a flank charge, which I think is okay. Over here, I figure these trolls, because again I'm thinking this is turn 5, these trolls can flank charge, kill them, and then on the next turn, which my brain thinks is 6, they'll be able to easily walk and get within 12 of here. And these guys, if they charge the front and kill, they can turn around. This guy might already be in 12 inches range, but certainly he'll be able to turn around after he wins his combat and then move into the center again. This is a combination of the end of turn 6 and the beginning of 7, although he didn't roll for turn 7. Although I think he might have known it was turn 7. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But yeah, so I charged. I didn't kill the fallen. I didn't think I would, but I did put a lot of wounds on him. I did kill the Lord over here, and then he counter charges with the Jabberwock and the flank charge here. He does flank charge with the Jabberwock here as well, which is fine. I don't think these guys are probably going to kill him anyway, so it's probably not necessary. I think these guys last turn lightning bolted at this Jabberwock, trying to. He already has like 9 wounds on him, so I thought, well, if I can put 1 or 2 on with lightning bolt, maybe that'll stop him from even being able to charge the front. Didn't work. And then this, again, in my brain was the end of 6, but it was actually the end of 7. He killed this horde, and the guy who's flank charged survived. I had him disengage and charge the fallen to finish them off. These trolls just hang out here in the middle. These guys killed the horde and turned to face the middle. And then he conceded kind of as this turn happened. It's like, yeah, we don't need to roll it through. Like, I don't need to actually hit these guys because he can't win at this point. He's got 3 points of scoring, and I've already got more than enough, and these guys can move in as well. So we didn't play it through. So it was a Goblin victory. I don't know if it was the bottom of 6. It doesn't look like it was anymore. It may have been this turn of 7, which if we had gone back and ended on turn 6 like we should have, I think I still would have had it. Probably. Yeah, because then this other horde would have been here, so I've been fine. I think if we had played it through, I think it would have ended up being a pretty strong victory for me. I would have had a decent amount of objective points, you know, differential for what's in the middle. And I think I did pretty well in kill points as well, considering he had... These guys probably would have died. So he would have had his Scald, the 2 monsters, and his Night Raiders. And I had 2 hordes, the Mincer, and all 4 of my characters. So it's pretty bloody. But in this particular case, I think I grinded him out. I traded effectively and came out on top. So the lessons learned, like I talked about at the beginning, I like the big infantry heavy armies. Had drifted away because I was tired of getting outflanked by lots of flyers and speedy units and speedy armies. This army was very speedy, but the Goblins, it's slightly different than with regular, like, humans when I was trying it. Sorry, get distracted there. Sick kid coming in. So where was I? Lost my train of thought, but yeah, so the Goblins work out well because unlike the human army, which has large... The hordes are larger, so again, it's harder to get the combo charges, and they're easy to get combo charged. They don't typically hit quite as hard because they don't have... The trolls have crushing too, so, and they're smaller frontage. They're in general tougher, I think. So the infantry heavy army with the Goblins seems to work, I think, in a lot of ways better than the infantry heavy army that the humans had that I was working. In this particular battle, though, my opponent had a fast flanky army, which I was not expecting to see as much of. In the past, I think my human army would have gotten wrecked by it. In this case, there were several points where it was on a knife's edge, and I was fortunate in that most of the time the luck seemed to go in the way I needed it. There are several points where it could have gone, if something had gone the wrong way, I would have been screwed. But everything just on the edge happened to go where I needed it to. I don't think it would have been as close, but I had a big, heavy infantry human army. I felt off balance until towards the very end. I had options. I had things to work with, which was at least the first step in dealing with it. But I did not have the initiative. I was waiting for him, and I had a rough plan. Hold here in the middle. Let him work the flanks. The terrain will protect my flanks for a bit. And then as it developed, it was like, okay, if he's going to go really hard on the flanks, maybe I can rush the middle. It kind of worked. Which it says down here, the game plan seemed to work, and the terrain helped me more than I expected. I don't know if he had not really pressed the flanks so much, instead of trying to go all the way around. If he had just kept that partial crescent, hold it, watching the middle, and just waited for me to advance. I guess it could have been a problem because I had the last turn, since he went first, and if he didn't rush at all, I could have just rushed into the middle as well. I talked about the knife's edge and how things kind of went my way. I got lucky on a couple things, and a couple things caught my opponent off guard, like when that giant charged on the right flank into his lord. He saw the rabble could do it. I think he was okay with that. I think he knows, I mean, he's played a lot. He knows the thing. He just, whatever it was. There's so many things to consider. He overlooked that the giant would also be in range to charge him. And it was, not that it was like a millimeter, it was close. But he was at like 13.5 inches. It was pretty far away. He probably eyeballed it and just overlooked it. That helped quite a bit. I had 3, I think, headstrong rolls. I passed them all, and that was helpful. I cast a lot of Bane Chant and a lot of weakness, and only one of them failed, so that was helpful. The nerve checks, like on the right flank there, the uninspired rabble regiment that took several turns of damage and held up a horde of his crap infantry. That was helpful. If they had been killed and that infantry horde had been freed up earlier, that would have caused problems. When I pressed the middle, he was expecting a double charge on his Frostfang cav, but again, so many things to consider. He wasn't thinking of Goblin heroes attacking, because you don't normally think of it. And because that guy charged in, so then it's a triple charge. Sliding down to the flank means that the other troll horde charging into his cavalry regiment was unhindered now instead of hindered like he anticipated. Yeah, it was just a lot of little mistakes or little oversights that dominoed and spiraled out of control for him. And ultimately, again, worked out in my favor. This point about the game plan of waiting, anchoring on the terrain. When I say frustrate, it was not like he was, not like my opponent was like raging and red in the face or anything, but you could tell he was expecting or hoping for me to move forward so he could exploit my flanks, and I wasn't. I just wasn't giving it up. And the further he pushed the flanks to try to get around, he's wasting turns, he's wasting time, he's getting further away from the center. I was impressed, really, though. Despite as far as he went, he got pretty close to the center. The Jabberwock on the right that went all the way around, he may have been within 12 inches of the center by the end of the game. And the Fallen Horde that went all the way around the left flank, they got killed, but they could have made it to the middle if things had gone a little better for him. So even though he went very indirectly with speed and nimble, those guys actually can get all the way around. So even though it took several turns, it wasn't as... I thought those guys were going to be out of the game and not be able to impact the center. They very much could have. A weakness of my army I mentioned before and kind of reinforced in this game is that the 3 sources of inspiring, I have to say it borders on too little. I love inspiring. Anytime a unit takes a check and is not inspired, I feel like I failed somehow. It's so huge to make them re-roll that, because every time they roll Snake Eyes or they roll 4 when they need a 5 or whatever to kill the unit, that's huge. That's huge to tie up a unit and make them punch something again. And there were a lot of times in this game and my previous couple of games, this army, where I just can't cover everything. Not only can I not cover everything, but a lot of my inspiring people are casters as well. So if I need to run them where they can cover more units to inspire, then I lose that Bane Chant primarily, or maybe a lightning from Magua. So the problem is it has been working, and when I look at my army, it's like, well, I have to drop something to get inspiring. What would I drop? I don't want to get rid of anything because it's working. It's annoying and it causes the occasional problem, but it's still managing to work out. Yep, I just wanted to go back. This is an interesting predicament. I like this slide. I like this photo. I like the position I'm in. This is... Okay, the game plan I had has gotten to the point where I can't wait any longer, and I have to gamble. And I don't know. You can look at it yourself. Ask yourself, was my gamble to rush forward with everything and hold these flanks. Well, I kind of pressed on the right flank here. Was it correct? I mean, it worked out, but just because it worked out doesn't mean it was the right decision. If it had a 10% success rate and something else had a 50% success rate, maybe that was a better option. But I don't know what else I could have done. And that's what I was saying earlier. Instead of these guys being here and this guy being here, if he had just kept them over here and over here, would that have been a better option for him? And then just wait. See, I got so much stuff here. I could have just run up to the middle. The middle is like right here of the board. I mean, this isn't a lot. He doesn't have a lot of scoring to begin with, but a lot of scoring is over here. A lot of his points are over here. I don't know. I think I made the right decision. I can't see anything else blatantly that I should have done or could have done. And again, since it worked out, that's certainly evidence that it was a good decision, but it's not it doesn't, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you learned a lot. It's an interesting battle report. I'm going to play around with this army some more. Yeah, for facing the fast, no flyers, but fast, nimble army, it's kind of one of the things I have the hardest time facing with a infantry heavy list, and I managed to eke out the victory, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just need to find somebody with what's it called, Northern Alliance or some other just in-your-face smashy army and see if I can out-punch them. And then I have to find an Abyssal Dwarf player with artillery and see if I can survive all the freaking shooting. All right, thanks for watching.